Hello, it's good to see you again. This is Conrad from the campground. Actually, I'm up a little bit grumpy after a frigid night camping in Poland. It's getting a little too cold. Winter is coming, and I'm by a road, so trucks went by every night. I think there's another one. Kept me up all night long. Yep, there's another one. So what I want to do is drag you out here into it. No, actually what I want to do is take you back in time, specifically to the time of the Warsaw Uprising and the Warsaw Airlift, which, as you may or may not know, was the Allies' futile attempt to supply the partisans fighting for their lives against the Germans in Warsaw. However, Joseph Stalin would not let our planes land behind Russian lines. This meant a horrendous flight from Italy to Warsaw and back with horrific losses. 41 planes, 360 airmen. So what I want to do is not talk about just the big picture. I want to talk about one specific flight, KG939, captained by J.L. Van Essen. And actually, I don't even want to talk so much about J.L. Van Essen. I want to talk about the unknown airman of that flight. So welcome to my first documentary. I say documentary, not mini documentary, because if I were to misquote one of the greatest movies ever, Snatch, I like to ramble. So let's go. So you're here, and you're saying, yes, I'm here, Conrad, but where are we? Well, you are in a forest about 30 kilometers southeast of Warsaw, more specifically about 2-3 kilometers southeast of Michalin and Falenica, which is also southeast of Warsaw. And the reason I brought you here is because on the night of the 14th, 15th August 1944, the airmen of the ill-fated KG939, A is for Able, B-24 Liberator, bailed out into this forest. Now imagine that. You're a young South African guy. You have a hard time of it, right? You fly up from Italy. You're flying all night. It's a 2,000-mile round trip because you've got to bob and weave because there is flak. There are enemy night fighters. There's a Luftwaffe fighter training school in Krakow, and these guys would love to get a beat on you. Then you have the Russians. They're shooting at you from the ground. Night fighters are trying to knock you down, and you're like, what? I thought we were friends. I mean, come on, Uncle Joe. I mean, Stalin, of course. If you're not going to let us land on your side of the lines, at least don't try to shoot us down. But anyway, you get through it all. Then you fly into Warsaw, and it's worse than you ever thought. Everything is burning. You get shot up. You lose 3 engines. Next thing you know, you are dropping like a rock. You get down to 400 feet. They shove you out the door into the night, into a forest where literally everyone is trying to kill you. Now, before we get deeper into their story, and we are going to go deeper into that forest, one way or the other. Before we get deeper into their story, let's introduce these guys. Well, we've talked about the captain, J.L. Van Essen. I'm not going to get too much into his story because it's out there. It's on the internet. I'll give you a link. But then you've got kind of the no-names of history. You've got Lieutenant Derek Robert Fitzholiday, a South African Air Force man. You've got the radio telegraph operator, Lieutenant Basil Harvey Austin, went by Bunny. And I'm going to get into the story. It's kind of a cool twist. You've got the bombardier, Sergeant Stuart Litchfield. You've got the gunner. He was another RAF guy, the bombardier and the gunner. They're both RAF, and the gunner was George Peaston. They gave them the cool jobs. Then you've got Lieutenant Robert George Hamilton, and then you had Leslie Mays, and finally Herbert Hudson, the last one being also Royal Air Force. But before I get into their story, before we go deeper into this forest, I've got to get you here to this spot. And you're saying, well, Conrad, how are you going to do that? Well, let me show you. Okay, I don't know if you can see this or not, but if you look down that way, that's Warsaw. And on the night of the 14th, 15th August 1944, KG939 had just lost 3 engines. They were burning. It was coming this way, flying this way, and going down, dropping down to about 400 feet. You would have had 7 very scared airmen at that time. What we're going to do is we're at the Michalin stop, which is where you should get off. And we're going to go see if we can try to find that wreck. And sorry if the camera's bouncing around. It's not really easy to film this way. This is arm strength, man. Arm strength. All right. So we're moving. We've got to kind of move because I'm afraid the light's going to go on me. I messed around a little bit today. Didn't really go as fast as I should have gone. But let's talk a little bit about the story if we can. You know, I told you we're not going to concentrate on J.O. Van Essen. This guy, you can find, I'll post a link to his story. But it's basically, hey, you know, we got shot down, we got captured by the Russians, we were taken to Russia, we were interrogated several times, and kind of the Russians were angry at us. But the guy I want to talk about is Basil Harvey Austin. Bunny is what he was called. Now, Bunny has quite a story. But to tell you the truth, I'm going to wait and tell you a bit of that story when I get on top of this rise, because I don't want to trip and fall down holding my camera with one arm. This is arm strength, man. Arm strength. All right, do your kettlebells. I'm telling you, do your kettlebells. Okay, now you may wonder why I'm kneeling down on this moss, like kind of like a resting place for a hobbit. I went ahead and set up my tripod, but then I realized there are wild boars in the woods here, which is really strange, and I've never seen them during the day. They come out at night, they grub around. I was actually planning to show you some diggings, but I just ran, like 2 steps after I just ran into a little pack of wild boars. I mean, they weren't that big, but I've seen really big ones. In fact, I never believed it, but on the edge of Falanites in the night, I saw one that easily weighed as much as me. He probably weighed a lot more than me. He was like a freaking... like an orc, like an Uruk-hai wild boar. So so I saw him a little ways down the trail, but actually they're kind of over there, and I can't see them from here. And I mean, they kind of freaked me out, to tell you the truth. But we're gonna get moving in a second. I was kind of, well, I don't know. I think they're gone. Still pretty cool though. But I mean, I don't know how big a wild boar gets, but I'm telling you, the one that I saw at night was, I'm sure it weighed much more than me, like a 400-pound wild boar. So you can see some wildlife out here. If you go that way, you can run into a bog. It's pretty far out there, but there's moose, there's deer, all kinds of things. But there are wild boars, which is another reason to get back moving again, because I don't want to come back through here once it gets dark and meet the Uruk-hai king of the wild boars. Okay, we are moving again. Actually heard, I didn't see them, but I heard the wild boars again, snuffling along. So we're kind of going faster. I don't think they're following me, but something gives them strength, Legolas. I don't really want to run into them. I don't know what I would do. I guess I would climb a tree. But let me tell you a tiny bit of Bunny's story, Bunny Austin's story. So he lands in a tree right around here, about 30 feet. The trees were probably bigger then, because this is not all, a lot of this is not old growth. He lands in a tree, and he's swinging a tree, manages to get himself down. So he's walking through the night. The problem is, this isn't just Russian-held territory. There are German patrols here. They aren't really in control of this part of the woods. What does he do? He runs into a Polish partisan. Now, if you don't know, the Polish partisans, this was the largest organization of partisans in the war, apart from those in Yugoslavia. He runs into a Polish partisan who leads him through the forest. I think I'm about to get hit by an off-road biker. No. He runs through the forest. Yeah, there's wild pigs, there's off-road bikers. And he takes him to the forest, and he's got to hide him. And he finds a little cabin in the woods. Whoop. Okay, well, now I'm going down. I'm going to show you this here. I'm going to pan. I don't know if it's probably not going to be in focus, but I'm going down into this basin here, which is going to take us to the memorial. We're going to go to the memorial of where the flight A for Able went down. All right, well, let's get going. I don't know. So basically what we do, this guy, he just gave me directions. He was a nice guy. He kept his dog away from me. Nobody's dogs ever bite. Have you ever noticed that? Everyone says, no, don't worry, my dog doesn't bite. But then when he gets close to you, the guy goes, no, don't get too close to the guy. But anyway, we're going that way. Okay, we're here. Let's see if you can see it over there. Here's the monument to KG 939, A for Able. It's actually a monument both to, this was there where the plane actually crashed, and 3 crew members were buried for some time. They were later moved to be reburied in Krakow. But let's come take a look. There are a bunch of bikes here today. I think that's where all those scouts, they like park their bikes here. Again, sorry if it's a little jumpy. I need to do more kettlebell training. Okay, but here's the actual monument. Okay, I'm gonna turn this away to show you guys. Oh, there we go. Whoop, let me back up. There we go. Pretty nice. Simple, but it's actually quite nice, quite respectful, right? And here we are. This is, it's kind of, in a way, it's a holy place. Now, for years, decades even, there was debate as to how many people died in the Warsaw Uprising. Some people said in the West, 120,000, 150,000. The German propaganda machine at the time of the uprising said about 250,000. Currently, experts agree it was probably 200,000. What we do know is that the 3 airmen of KG 939 didn't make it. These being, of course, Lieutenant Robert George Hamilton, as we mentioned, Leslie Mays, and also Sergeant Herbert Hudson. Hamilton's chute did not open. Both Hudson and Mays were killed probably by ground fire, either ack-ack fire or small arms weapons. But what about Bunny Austin? Now that is the twist. This is a story not too many people know. Now the last you heard when I was running from the wild boar, Bunny Austin was being rescued by a partisan fighter. But the partisan fighter did not know what to do with him, so he took him to a cabin. And in the cabin, there was a family, and there was a little girl named Ursula Stupik. And they said, okay, we'll put her in Ursula's bed. And he survived. The German patrols did not find him. Now, after that, the only thing to do was to take these guys and hand them over, or at least they decided to hand themselves over to the Russians because there really was not another option. From here, we know the story from Van Eysen's. He's talked about this. It's been in the newspapers. If you can find these old articles, they were interrogated many times. They were taken to Moscow. They were interrogated, and eventually, they got back home. But Bunny Austin did not forget. In fact, this ate up his soul. So he decided in 1958, which was a pretty crazy time to do this because of the Iron Curtain, he was going to come back to Poland and thank the people who rescued him. He did this. That's the amazing thing. Through an underground organization, a lot of twists and turns, it's like a spy novel, he managed to come back to Poland and he met Ursula Stupik, who had survived. But the story didn't end there. The spy novel continues. He helped her escape from Poland to Paris. She was 26 years old. Now, what happened after that, I'm not sure. I've tried to find out. I don't know. I would love, if she's still alive by some miracle, I would love to interview her. If anyone knows her, then give me a call. But it's really quite a story. Quite a story. And when you're in this place, it kind of makes you wonder, you know, if you look at the world now, do we deserve the valor of these people? Did we earn it? We certainly didn't. They earned it. And since that time, what have we done with it? It really does make you think. Okay, I'm going to pack up and get going because I'm losing light and I don't want to traipse out of here in the dark, and I'm actually kind of cold. But thanks a lot. Thanks for being with it, sticking with it, and I'll try to do another one of these, and I'm going to end this with a few shots of Warsaw, what it looked like in the very end. What these people went through is something that should be remembered today.